Yeah, so. So then when we pick up where we left off in the text, so it says the innate nature of your mind. So the innate nature of your mind, which is the natural or true nature, the primordial co-emergent awareness that is self-aware and self-luminous itself is the indivisibility of compassion and emptiness, the indivisibility of the two truths, the indivisibility of skillful means and wisdom, and the indivisibility of the generation and completion stages.
在那一节样嘛，着吧，写了东半年，是一先可能我的一在钞票嘛吧，我他妈着吧去了，写了东半年的是，等当节样嘛搞完，当刚着要有嘛的肯定难有了吧，我等刚嘛着送我的了，他们年纪进步的是，我的第二步的，你是咪把这当年年纪也没是吧？他当年年纪也没是那这里是。
So I wonder, there's like a kind of some feedback or something. I don't know if it's in the room, but it's a little bit hard, the sound on my end. So then it says, for instance, the nature of mind, which is established as nothing, is emptiness. So, yene, dampo yene te due.
啊，
Buye la yene rebe.
马上的，现在
Oh,
是。
okay. Yeah, yeah. Jine. Oh, okay. So it is established as nothing. It can't be identified as a specific thing. And this is emptiness, the wisdom, and its unceasing radiance is compassion, the skillful means. So it isn't a specific thing, and yet it is unimpeded and unceasing in nature, and that unceasing quality or radiance is the radiance of skillful means or great compassion. So it is the indivisibility of wisdom and compassion, or emptiness and compassion.
真的，他在你们家的是在九件噻，你们家的也是，我在上级根据光配通，上级他们几个光配通，他在这里是多年年纪也没是，我在多年年纪也没把这上级他们几个光把那我也是，
Mhm.
我在就在九万前进我这是，我在通达我前跟我这场地有的也是。
Mhm. So then, as it says in the Victory of Non-Duality Tantra, the meaning as known by all Buddhas. So this is what is understood by all of the Buddhas, this indivisibility of emptiness and compassion, and this indivisibility of wisdom or emptiness and compassion is the true nature of the nature of the mind alone. And so within that understanding is the realization of all Buddhas. The realization of all Buddhas is contained.
真的，他这里嘛这种东西，从先不让露出头呢，协同到这个同样的买把的螺丝，先工具米是他敲在前面的路线那的，他成都这敲在前面公司了，然后先的，露露把让嘛不下呢，这么成把买烟话钱呢，他协同的那他是同人那同他几块着，我提
Mhm.
去哪里，这买烟话的，我们都就要这里螺丝在前期嘛，不是我们都要有嘛的意思。
Um, And so as then it says, apart from freeing mind in its own nature and then remaining undistracted from the indivisible state of clarity and emptiness, awareness and emptiness, there is nothing to meditate upon. So Mahamudra, the meaning of Mahamudra, is to relax the mind into this recognition of its natural state, which is the union of awareness and clarity, the natural clarity of awareness, and with sustaining that recognition. So remaining within that without becoming distracted. Apart from that, there's no meditation. There's nothing else to meditate upon.
等那两节三节嘛，两节节吧，三节嘛，下边就的是特别吃这啥，听到那可是两节节别做这些，两节节吧，他是你两节节吧，他做吧，他们去当车头的，做吧是那他大把切吧，那说他这这吧，他们去把车的那些了，光把切完嘛，因为他这车的的光就是没些光路是谁呢？ 또 검도 야소요 말해서 로킨 시도
Mhm.
대금 야소라 대금죠 많이 데스 라지 체바 미바 라지 다 냠나테 준치 미바 데시 거레 체바 미바 준스 와다 냠나 준치 미바스 천시에 많이 와치 거쇼데
Mhm.
쳔바데 많이 바치네 준데 주 라지 체바 미바스 준스 준치바는 메자고 와다 준치바 메자스 라화서 가랑소레 당보바이나 근데 조치 쳔바디 있으면 좀이 쳔바지에 말과 그 조치 쳔바디 주장 보레스
Mhm.
디스 어디 연인들 뭐 연결이 어디 많이 바치네는 다 공자도 저 소소 그 냠내티가 저 랩톱이 아치네는
Mhm.
배송치 그레스
Mhm. So then, as it says in the Tantra of the unimaginable co-emergence, co-emergent is unelaborated. Co-emergence is unelaborated. So unelaborated meaning it is free from the extremes of existence or non-existence or eternalism and nihilism. It is free from all grasping, from all fabrication. And therefore, it is not something to meditate upon. So, if there is some concept of meditation that is fabricated by the mind or apprehended by the mind as, oh, this is meditation, then that is not actually the meditation. So it is not that there's not something to meditate upon, but the nature is an unbroken stream. So the stream is not to be cut. And so this unbroken stream is the continuity of undistracted awareness. And so that naturally becomes the practice. It's simply the practice of not becoming distracted, sustaining mindfulness, sustaining undistracted awareness. As a beginner, it is necessary to make effort in mindfulness because there's so many possibilities for distraction and different diversions pulling at our attention. So one has to contrive effort or actively make effort. But eventually, over time, then it becomes an effortless maintenance of awareness. So awareness is sustained effortlessly. But in the beginning, one has to make an effort.
전에 제송 베스 조남 남시세 조남세 가장 쉬임바 로차 년도로 봐 로야다 라야다 니야다 도가티 좀들 조남 시지라고
로, 야,
로차
네.
년도 센로 랑니차
Mhm,
년도 로다我在江南
mhm,
写的时候，我在江南写的，他蛮把前边军的讲过的是，常常大家陈志勇说啥是吧？在我们家对对娘第四内兄呢，啊，通常只说在研究呀。
mhm,
我很少是因为往学着呀，听着有啥的，我听着就是他蛮把结果的是
mhm,
陈道康穷讲我心把些是陈道
mhm,
康穷了，但我心结果的是，他就这么来的呗，他说的话还是那么说呢，俺着呢能往南头接，是着呢他能往他南头接学是，我的呢苏州人着路，苏州人着是呢，他那些做抽有了，别讲他站着是可能。这年嘛，年可这个我在这你们俩去呢，提起网头嘛，小罗去呢，做了
mhm,
了意思。
mhm.
我多能嘛求牛面多是多能嘛求牛嘛，先嘛求牛嘛，提起那多学过是，
Do got it?
多能嘛求牛面上多是，
Mhm,
多是那这样的吧？
mhm,
我的呢，嘛求牛面上了多是的，可
mhm.
是宁波同多了意思，宁波同特别多了意思，宁波同多了意思的呢。啥呢？东尼讲了啥是？啥呢？东尼讲了啥？这下帮为啥路意思？但这下是在桥当上完了是，
Zana tongni nanglaza.
但这下帮为啥路意思？
Zincha.
人把恰过有了的，
Mhm,
这下他帮呢，公他在啥东西做了，在那丫头听说咱们学堂会说才嘛了的，
mhm,
这下帮
mhm,
为啥路意思？
mhm,
通了这些恰不能通是，但就群人通了这些恰不能等通。学是，在军纪里边通了意思，对，他军嘛去吧。我大听这同学是，我等
mhm,
等着下年度想了，但是等着下年度长嘛，等着话先了，着下的话，下先浪吧的话，你话多过，对什么？着下年度想了，但是想不到学是，通常没别给教的意思，我他
mhm,
通常没别是给教的一种的话，
mhm,
对的，通常一万次就没别给教，军纪没别那么的。
mhm. Um, So then, so then, as it says, during the four activities in the dimension of undistracted, constant mindfulness, as you manage to recognize whatever thoughts arise. So during the four activities, it's referring to what was mentioned before, during the four activities um, of standing, sitting, walking, or lying down. So the practice is to sustain undistracted mindful awareness throughout these activities, to bring the four activities onto the path of practice or meditation. So if, for instance, sometimes it can be the case that with this division of meditation and post-meditation, that there is like a division, and that there's awareness during the practice, and then in the post meditation there's distraction. So here we have to make an effort not to lose the practice in the post meditation, and so not sustaining that unbroken mindful awareness throughout all the activities of sitting, standing, walking, and lying down is very important. And to recognize whatever thoughts as they arise. Um, as Milarepa has said, when walking, bring all appearances onto the path through the experience of the six collections of consciousness, so that all that appears to the sense doors, forms that appear to the eye, sounds that appear to the ears, and so on and so forth, all of that is brought onto the path of practice through sustaining undistracted mindful awareness. When sitting, rest in the uncontrived, natural awareness of the mind itself. And this becomes the method of um, uh, s- sitting like within the essence, or the essence. The sitting itself becomes the nature of the essence. When eating, eat everything, eat the food of emptiness, without attachment or aversion, abandoning a mind of like and dislike. When drinking, drink the water of mindfulness. And then everything that occurs in the path of conduct, whether sitting, standing, eating, drinking, or lying down, becomes the unbroken continuity of awareness, and all is brought on to the path of virtue, in whether in sessions or in between sessions.
tene dan tso la kawa pa pa ne len len ro se ba de dan nyam len te du chi de du tene da be chang da nam so di xiong na de ze chen xie chen ba man yin jiang de nam so zi song ma de nyam len gang tso ri gom gang tso le ong kyo ri 我别听到一旦做那客户话呢，在确认中强，嘛选择确认即可强中是吧？这自己的事情呢，对我们才能着手的。这到有人讲别是的，讲别马家讲当那是恰到叫他们，听这说这种在呈现起来点没过来，所以说我们的这做没从其他没做我们讲内容呀，我听
Mhm.
这恰吧，叫他们那么些，协同渐渐，我的是我在叫他们上嘛在我们讲内容呀。我听这用过来是有人信呢。
So then it says, when you manage to recognize whatever thoughts that arise, then they just dissipate on their own accord, like drops of rain and flakes of snow falling onto the sea, into the sea. And mindfulness in this way should be maintained for an extended time. So sometimes there will be, sometimes this sort of subtle proliferation of thoughts, like the smaller thoughts, or kind of a sort of gentle kind of stream of thoughts, which sometimes there's some of these thoughts, but when they are, the awareness is sustained, then they don't do any harm. They just become like rain or snowflakes falling on the surface of the water that are the nature of the water, merge with the nature of the water, and they don't do any harm. They're brought on to the path of practice. So then sustain this for a long time, an extended time, and the awareness of clarity and emptiness becomes utterly naked, even during the four activities. So when this is sustained like this for a long time and one makes effort, eventually one gets to the point where one doesn't need to deliberately make effort and it is just sustained. This is called the experience of spontaneous abiding with no deliberate attempt to let it abide or to let there be abiding.
와, 근데 많이 샘게 랑 다스 많이 내 샘게 랑다. 랑이 티니 랑이 또 좋나? 랑이 티니 랑이 또나. 이메 샘장 찾아 침보셔. 연인 손나 제제라다 전시 쇼 침보. 치마고 남트네. 샘소 찾아 침보. 샤롱 그레스.
Mhm.
엔 세마랑로 대화 침보가 세마다 송지 세마 탐지 랑이 파 초르네. 대화 침보 찾아 침보. 티강아레스 대화 침보선 찾아 침보 코쇼사리. 티강아레스.
So then, as it says, undistracted mind looks at itself. If it realizes its own suchness, even the distracted states of mind appear as as Mahamudra. So here, in sustaining undistracted attention or mindful awareness, eventually it isn't, one doesn't need to make an effort. And in that kind of spontaneous presence of the unbroken continuity of awareness, even the distracted states of mind appear as Mahamudra. This is really when there are the characteristics, or this is becomes then the experience of great bliss, free from the characteristics or the um, features of subject object dualistic fixation. So in the dimension of great bliss, wherein all characteristics are self-liberated.
전에 다 대로 배송이라 차선 강가만 송지군데 따베jer 보이스 송지군 단대에서나 따베jer 보이스
Mhm,
뭐 전에 유마미나 곰베jer 보이스 유마미나 곰자가 저거는 그래서
mhm.
차소체나 조베jer 보이스 차소 파체에서나 대 조베히
Sorry?
차소
Chatso.
차와도 zor바요라 배송을 제가 차소파 차소를 라베라
Mhm.
어때 파체에서나 조베히 저거
Chupa. Mhm,
조베jer redo mina jibu mo tu chor redo mina de jibu mo tu chor gre zon rasa
mhm,
tendu
mhm,
ne sare
mhm. So also Tilopa says in the Ganges Mahamudra, freedom from subject-object dualistic fixation is the king of views. Undistraction or a non-distractedness, undistracted awareness is the king of meditations. Freedom from effort and deliberate action is the king of conduct. And when there is no hope or fear or expectation and doubt, this is the true fruition.
dene da tere de je zon sta de ka zang di na mo chu na ba ni yo se la so
Mhm.
wa de subject de mo chu na ba ni ti na la dene tang po nam so chu ko mo chu ba tere
So then we have this completes this section, and then we have the two types of pointing out. So the first section of pointing out is pointing out appearances to be the nature of Dharmakaya. So pointing out upon appearances, pointing out, sorry, not appearances, thoughts. So in the section of pointing out upon appearances, the first is pointing out the nature of thoughts to be Dharmakaya.
dene dan chung ko da tang nga chang da nga xin ji ne se da ka zang de na yi ra de chung ko zen na da lu ni te so ne ma de na yi ji ne sem rang lo shu xia la se da sa tang bo sem lo ji ne de wo m jia go re se
Mhm. So at first it says, by maintaining the body posture and gaze as before, you release and relax your mind into its own way. The nature of mind abides in pristine clarity and vividness. So the instruction here is to assume the posture just as before, the 7-point posture, and to relax the body into the posture, relax the mind into its natural abiding.
dine semni zi la dopa mi bi zi singi jian yiri ni bi ngo jia ji de la se wo da sem ge ngo so zi de yin na.
Mhm,
dine nam to kang ju ba de le ngo jie da se nam to ti ngo da zi da go nam to le ngo ba. Nam
mhm,
to me le ma nam to je le ngo ting ngo jie da se.
mhm,
dine ne ba den ju wa ni che pan do kan man do le ba do se. tin ju la lo ne ba
mhm,
ne de ge ne da tin ju son le tin ni bo ngo le che pa.
mhm,
都我们都是大过的事啊。
mhm. So then it says, so look, so the nature of mind abiding in pristine clarity and vividness, look directly at this nature of mind. And then within that dimension, so abiding within the clarity of awareness, look directly at any thought that flutters to carefully discern whether or not there is any difference. So actually, these are sort of stated as separate things. So look directly at the thoughts, and look at the essence of the thoughts, and then also look at the essence of the mind of stillness and the mind that has the movement of thoughts, and decide or come to an understanding whether there's any difference between the mind that is abiding and the mind that is fluttering, or the mind that has the movement of thoughts.
等呢，当可当中南头在机场扭着瞬间，这把在卡着学软个子南头在冲冲的，没
Mhm,
得来别种，东是南头起雾中是没得东给种这样的，有了听到起学的南
mhm,
头的种是没得的别，
mhm,
没得别听就种的哇，我
mhm,
东是南头起雾种，对对对，可是那俺当做的南头在南头这起呢，但那最忙不在穷学的，别强调现在他这年他妈南头才一句穷学的。
mhm,
我这个那是在初步这你那在上头在南方这边这了，这强着去的。
mhm,
我听着在清楚的，但是点呢，听着穷学，但是俺那说南多的我养不在当地，所以说从这边的在后勤部在说从那边，南多可能我差不多嘛，的是南多帮那，
mhm,
所以你们俩讲劲呢。他呢，
mhm,
别强调是南多上部这一撮，你们去年把这一块，你们去上年你不在多少斤呢？可能我为了七八月嘛的，他上部的现在
mhm,
有嘛的，年把的现在有嘛的，上部去偏操作有嘛，年别逻辑都有嘛的。他你那当俺那说上部的在压在松，在压部运动多在起，年把人在都在松，但是呢，你最忙不在俺说穷学了哇。我
mhm,
等印度真的，他在那个俺去光片来把他就说的，要不别想着他上头在眼头是你切盘都没得，要不是打还是说，我这在
mhm,
大家那的光把来把差几别是，多把
mhm,
马嘎把这上，系统经验红是现在红是我的，多把挺干着呀嘛，这系统经验嘛，现在那么多可能手超越我们了吧。这时候嘛，这对的系统经验嘛，这个那么多肯定是是。要嘛的，那他那么多手进步，老上个时来趟不年来前面都讲把弄透嘛的，天呐，这是有人是这么当的事情啊，那么多可能没有超越嘛，是吧？这嘛着对
mhm,
的，那么多的年来前那的呢，这是说说，年来更多特别好，那么多可是都叫他说别上步年来起啊，偏头的，
mhm,
年来起啊，如果且那么多说年来起当家头呢？
mhm. Um, so all that causes problems for us, really, the thoughts are such troublemakers. If there's fixation, it's thoughts create all of our problems. In fact, Milarepa has said, based on the instruction of Marpa, that the worst of all demons and like harmful spirits are the thoughts. So the thoughts are like the worst demons or negative spirits. And so the thoughts that are all, divided, it's based on our thoughts that we sometimes think, oh, this is my friend, or oh, this is my enemy. And then it's also based on our thoughts that sometimes someone starts out as an enemy and then becomes a friend, or somebody is our friend. And then based on how our perception is, based on whatever thoughts are present in the mind, they become an enemy. And so it's all actually just grasping. It's just the grasping of the mind. It's all created by concepts. And we have some concepts that we designate as good and some concepts that we designate as bad. But when we really look at the essence of the concepts themselves, is there really a difference between the negative thoughts and the positive thoughts, the good thoughts and the bad thoughts? Do the good thoughts really create any benefit? Do the bad thoughts really create any harm? If we really look at the essence of the thoughts themselves, it's just an empty essence. It's just the empty fluttering of thought. There's not really a difference between the positive and negative or good and bad. There's no substantial nature to them, of course. And so here, as it says, when you meditate again in okay. And so when we in the beginning, so as one meditates for a long time, then one really starts to see the equality of all thoughts, and their essenceless nature, their insubstantial essence. But as a beginner, this is difficult because there's such a strong onslaught of thoughts, and we get so easily caught up and carried away by them because we don't know how to see their empty essence. But after time, as we practice for a long time, then the thoughts don't actually do any harm. And there isn't any difference between absence of thought and the presence of thought. One is still sustaining the continuity of awareness. And in fact, the presence of thoughts or thoughts serve as like a companion to the practice. They actually help to intensify the practice.
Tene nge khasante kadam ke heje yorzen ben kong
Mhm,
jarse.
mhm,
Te kong ni ma da de nyamnya chi ti di tambo da ko ko marwa.
mhm,
Pya ke ko ma da cha hwan da za ko ma cha hwan ni ki chi yo sa ro ko na ba ya
mhm,
bo se mi lo yo de je ta
mhm,
nyamnya chi di. Tene kong da ko ma je na do gar wo je ba lo do gar wo chung chung yo ra di.
mhm,
Te ro gar wo lo ji ko ma je na di na po lo. Tene
mhm,
kong da nyamnya chi di nam to do ya re ji di do na po re sha.
mhm,
남도 this 야한다 자녀면 this 돈도 거로래 샤
mhm,
어떤 주지 당보공도 나빠마도 진도 거로 치는 만 없어 스마치
mhm,
나빠래서
mhm,
그래 제 대류 제 배송치 지도 지엘데 도
mhm,
거로 나쁜다 원다 자스서
mhm,
그래
mhm,
뒤지엘데 도 거로 마도 나빠 배제미만 어다
mhm,
대류 배송치 효자효사면 레라고
mhm,
가서 팀념내서 남도서 방구는 레라고만 와서 this 소소소 방 그리고 레라고만도 샤샤적만 소소 냠내 치고 쇼래
mhm. There's a story he mentioned the Kadamba master Ben Kungya.
야,
Uh,
뱅콩이야.
uh, and who was, before he became a practitioner, he was a thief. He was a thief and a um, kind of like a robber, I don't know what that, or a bandit and a thief. And he was a really kind of negative, had really negative conduct. But then he started practicing, and as he was really transformed through the practice. And so he started off when he was meditating. He had like one bag of white pebbles, and put a bunch of white pebbles in one bag and a bunch of black pebbles in another bag. And so watching his mind, every time he had a negative thought, he would place a black pebble from one of the bag of black petals in front of him. And every time he had a positive thought, he would place a white pebble in front of him. And at first, it was like hugely disproportionate. It was mostly just entirely black pebbles. And then over time, it sort of started to even out. It was like, kind of equal black pebbles and white pebbles. And then at the end, or finally, it was really predominantly like white pebbles. And so also one of the products of the practice, even though there is actually no difference in the essence of thoughts, positive or negative, that through the power of the practice, naturally the thoughts end up having more the nature of purity, or they become positive thoughts.
我真的特别嘛，头中段别人去那去拉不行，对起讲拉不这个去里当去里拉不先蛮起是拉不讲去里先蛮起，我当时想那托克拉那边先不我里怕这有嘛的是，这牛嘛这通啊呢，那托那说些吧，这你是没，我的那牛嘛这通听那了吧，那托那说下红的是，这里呢这有嘛的是我几块的也是听那了，我去拉那一点把人家去听听那吧。你是没把钱都给，但人家没记得，再从自己那边来记，那这样那托听我把妈妈记的哇。
Hmm.
대도 되면 출라 출라 파 템송 예와요 말봐
Hmm.
남도 템밍맹 템송데 미시 남도에서 된도요 말이
So then, as it says, when you meditate again and again in this way and attain perfect certainty, the unceasing thoughts themselves manifest nakedly as clear and empty. So mm, the essence of awareness, which is the union of clarity and emptiness, is no different from the nature of thoughts, which is also the union of clarity and emptiness. They're the same essence. If we don't practice, though, then there's grasping. There's subject-object dualistic fixation or grasping. And in that case, then thoughts can cause harm to the practice. But when the essence is really understood, when one gets to that level, then there's really no difference as to whether there's the presence of thoughts or the absence of thoughts. The essence is the same. The essence of mind and the essence of the thoughts that appear in the mind is one and the same.
他当年就当年啥了吧？等等库巴写讲讲，等等两眼得写吧，对吧？你库巴帮的现在两眼得吧？多么就是我的库巴就是把帮助的两眼得是多的就有什么了吧？
Mhm.
送学啥的，就当库巴去上去写呢，那两年前呢，但多块我去那得两眼得是。他那学啥了？我们这个，然后
Mhm.
先把这考下这两眼得是这多就嘛，这送学啥的。
Mhm. Mhm. So then in the Havadra Tantra, it says, this itself is samsara, this itself is nirvana, abandoning samsara. Nirvana cannot be realized elsewhere. So what is being said here essentially is that the nature, the essence of samsara, the essence of nirvana, the essence is the same. That actually, there is no difference once the true nature is realized. And in fact, when there is realization, samsara itself becomes the phenomena of nirvana, or appears as nirvana. There isn't some nirvana to, like, samsara to be abandoned, and some nirvana in some other place to be realized elsewhere.
等等，他真多。namto xie zong si namto te yang wo jie ji de bi namto te wo zong mi ba te ka ne dong mi za ji tu ning za ga le yong si do huan mian ba xie ta zhen namto xiu qian bu de xie dang zhe lang di na xie dang namto zhao zhe ting wo ya wo jie da de yi na
Mhm.
da xie dang ting ma de so ge wa xia zhen ma
Mhm.
de so de di xi yu ren yi ba da nam sang zhe ga le ka wo de di xi yu ren gong
Mhm.
de xian pa lo lo ne cha 我等
Mhm.
这人参加呀，连这种的是他们当年做我的说我们的吃，说啥的话，他先说我们的吃。
Mhm. So then it says, therefore, look directly at the nature of whatever thought that may arise. In doing so, without identifying that thought, when mind abides non-conceptually wherever it abides, a feeling of ecstasy dawns in your heart. So here, for instance, if we take an example of a very strong thought with the quality of an afflictive emotion such as anger, if we look at anger first, if we look at it, then we feel discomfort. We feel that it makes us uncomfortable. So we have to, it isn't just looking at it directly and then, that it's liberated. One has to sustain the looking over a period of time. So we look into the essence of nature of anger for a period of time. And then gradually the mind settles, the mind becomes relaxed and kind of opens, and there's release. So to have that kind of experience of identifying the empty essence of a strong affliction, like instantaneously, is difficult. It takes time and it takes perseverance.
이마 들란도 너무 파모쳐 요로.
Hmm.
파모쳐 로마 제비 시당 침보 요산 주바 진바 자 녀다 서 소쇼 사람 맞제
Hmm.
요사로.
Hmm.
니마 제 파모쳐 저런 참도 쇼송 레세.
Hmm.
대군 참대야 지판 참관다 세 자디 참디데. 니마 제 니스로 사는 참디네.
Hmm.
되는 파모쳐 강 로마 신바제를 저런 송도 군 참대사 송네.
Hmm.
쿠케 데 칼라소사 노제 요로.
Hmm.
되게 자만사로 다 등장도
Hmm.
자요 말아 되게 자만해서
Hmm.
뒤성마 도저도 많이 아셔서
Hmm.
나르세 되게
Hmm.
코페자 콘도사도 좋은기리세
Hmm.
되게 콘도사 조 송처럼 예자서 초쇼 라르세 봉트리
Hmm.
샤테 야지 코 메신바트 조스
Hmm.
파송도 잡데 자만이 아르세 코베 콘도사데 된 총세
Hmm. Hmm.
제 조세 코 지보드 파모트웨자 초쇼와 파모트웨자 초세 파모트웨 조고 잠디도 딱고 디젤리아로 샤
Hmm.
제데 조고 잠디도 말에 가르 라르세 만
Hmm.
잠도 조시면 도스 코킹에 가라소사 정말 자송스도 잡디데
Hmm. Hmm.
샤데 파모트웨다 저는 디셈 뭐 야고 소도 냠냥 디시 송
Hmm.
계단지 야고 곰 잡 송 세테 곰제 잡디 되고 또 반다스 뭐 저제 제랑 남시 당시 라랑 야면 샤소사라
Hmm. So there's a story about one of Padma disciples who was really had a short temper. He was very easily angry. He was always getting angry and causing problems and fighting with the other practitioners. And he was really, really had this issue with anger. And so Padma told him to stay in retreat. So he went into retreat and he had, stayed a few, like 1 day, 2 day, a few days in retreat. And
말에
at the
누자 니사 참도 시라소
he told him to stay in retreat for 2 weeks.
예
And then he had been in retreat. He was in retreat for a few days. And Pablo Drupa told another student to go to his retreat dwelling and to take a stone and to throw the stone at his clay um, pots, his cooking vessels. At that time they were made of clay. So he was like, he told him to go take a stone, break his pots, and he said, and then he'll probably
어디디
become
자는 거 요사 말아 참아 자만해서 자만여로
because they weren't metal, they were made of clay. So he said, and probably he'll become angry. When he gets angry, tell him to come here, make sure he comes to me. And so, or somehow, like direct him, he'll probably come to me. And then and so sure enough, so this other student went and he broke all his pots, and of course, the practitioner, the retreatant, became enraged, and he went, to Pagmodrupa, and Pagmodrupa said, "What are you doing here? You're supposed to be meditating in retreat." And he said, "Yes, but how can I stay in retreat? I can't be, somebody just came and inexplicably broke all my clay pots. I'm furious. How can I be in
근데
retreat?"
그 당연히 그 소동도 요사로
Garilla?
다 메신바 그 노치 양내 요로하
Uh-huh.
노치도 도 장내 다 소동도 라표사 그 컨트롤
So
산
he was so angry. He was like, "I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna really like. I gotta get why would he do such a thing?" He was just furious, and so then Pagmodrupa gave him the instruction. He said, "Now, with this anger in your mind, look directly at the essence of your awareness. Meditate exactly on the essence of that anger." And so he did this. He went into retreat and he gave rise to realize back to retreat and meditated, and he gave rise to realization. And from that point on, he didn't really get so angry.
아, 전에 다 들이 칼라 송단 들이 대 온데 세타 똑바 년시 대 로스 밤 고스 다 셈고 통선 똑바 로스 님바시 밤도 고 말스 님보 이些자 님보 이些제도 고 마다 셈고 다 들이 제마 고데스 칸타 칸케 칭와나 테니 시나 저보단 칭첸 베자 시랑다 선 칭주 중 딩고 통나 어전에 테니 시나 저 초르데스 제발 남데 도저는 세제 상진에서 어떤 냠년들이 치tom나 세제 상진에서 그래스
So then it says, When mind abides non-conceptually, wherever it abides, a feeling of ecstasy dawns in the heart of your heart. It is not necessary to abandon a specific bad thought, and it's not necessary to search elsewhere for the anecdotal primordial wisdom. So just looking at the essence of awareness is all that is needed here. It is said, knowing this unravels the bonds of anything whatsoever. When this extraordinary path is realized, one attains Buddhahood in one life.
我写中是单独下读吧，拖的接近，单独下那么多字接呢，提接是蛮长嘛，我接接点的先出蛮硬吧，下边天天多下是没在这做下呢，多下嘛帮嘛让啥他呢，让啥他是呢，让啥出现的几块是吧？写写了，这个样说说多备一些，说说多备一些，当然吧，我怕没记起来写是，蛮多
Mhm.
下的。
So then it says, thus, if a thought of desire pops up, do not follow it, but look directly at its nature and never be distracted from it. In doing so, when desire appears to be devoid of any ground or root, when you recognize the empty essence of the desire itself, desire purifies itself in its own place without being abandoned. This is called liberation in its own place. It is discriminating wisdom, and it is also called the Buddha of boundless light. So it becomes uh, the quality, or it is one understands that it holds the quality of Amitabha, or the Buddha of the Lotus family.
但
Mhm.
这些都牛毛我可是，但牛毛我可这些当着行，那这些当那么大没弄一些了，这些当听我通俗呢，这没
Mhm.
弄一些的，这没去办中的，这这吧这我没去办中，恐怕 top 就是了吧。
Mhm.
我这呢，这我家那么大年龄一些是，但我家那把他送年龄一些的，这是人先就的恐怕特别样的。
Mhm.
我真的单独下来才送，真的，他的长度才把他送呢，这长度给这样我往通长度来让听我往通送呢，真的，前头被嫌弃，真的，这上届同学出版了吧？我自己，真的，demo 这样，我往东那 demo 那大的全一些的，我在那把那子。这我同志表，这挺重要啥吧？也是嘛，我打死我提前，先别给让下了，让大让着先别这里，我的，多下子说怕，那些牛毛子说怕他呢，真的让大让着是，我的让他让出呢，真的牛毛子先别在成这个的是，我先别在这送的，真的是，也把人啊，一些啊，他也把人给恐怕这个的是那不是。
Mhm. So then, likewise, it says, when you keep looking directly at the nature of the afflictive emotions instead of following them, and thus, if they appear to be self-purifying, self-liberating, and devoid of any ground or root, they are called the five wisdoms as well as the five Buddha families. So, in the same way as it is mentioned here with desire, that purified desire is the essence of discriminating wisdom and is the nature of the Buddha of boundless light. Likewise, the essence of anger is mirror-like wisdom, the Buddha Akshobhya. The essence of pride or arrogance is the wisdom of equality, the wisdom equanimity, and is the nature of Ratnasambhava. The nature of jealousy is all-accomplishing wisdom, and which is a Moga Siddhi in essence. And the nature of ignorance or mental darkness is the wisdom of the Dharma Dhatu, which is Vairochana. So when any of the afflictive emotions arise and one is able to look at the empty essence without getting caught up in or following after the thoughts, the thoughts that are kind of the quality of these afflictive emotions, then the thoughts are self-liberated upon arising. So they appear and they are liberated upon arising, and they become like the pure expression of the five wisdoms of the five Buddha families.
真的，我就把人家他一些个样式，真的瞧着进步了，对面那边举例是我的具体那看样那样的，我的看那么的那把那子意思，他其他看那个的话，宁波去了，但宁波你们俩去好了，没去还没去。 Dorje yang di ni tos guandu tamji da sem de guandu tamji je da sang je kong pang da so to ya ti yong ge wa wa ti
Mhm.
chung de ten ji ge ren chen jung dian yin tong je ge na ba mi da tong je le dang da je le de ba mi ba re ji nyam yong wo pa mi ba yin nyam wa de do tong yu lian je ji ba de do ba tong yu chu ba yin tong yu ba lian je ji de le sim lian je ji ba de do na tong yu chu ba re do ba tong yu
Mhm.
chu ba de ne gung ji da ko de se wa de da ja ba ren gung ji da ko dong re
Mhm. Uh, so the utterly non-abiding Tantra of Mahamudra says the great appearance of every possible form is the fully apparent one, Vairocana, um, because it wavers not from the supreme essence. So this is first then the Buddha family, which is essence, the true essence of all appearances, and it is also the imperturbable Vajra, the Buddha of the Vajra family, Akshobhya, as it is rich with excellent wishes and results arise from it. So anything when experienced as the essence in this way, then all appearances and possibilities it become like a wish fulfilling jewel or an abundance of everything that is needed and desired. So it is rich with excellent wishes and results arise from it. It is the source of jewels, the Buddha Ratnasambhava of the jewel family. Having boundless light of experience from one meaning, it is the boundless light or Amitabha. As all purposes are accomplished with the realization of co-emergence, it is the accomplisher of wishes, Amoghasiddhi, the all-accomplishing wisdom, the Lord of all Buddha families. It is what it says, it is what owns all.
자 티킨투 남토 칸샤라 제지 샤스도 terwa namdo khare shana tik mo ji ji shana rangji mi ba rang zhou chun zhou se ba da namdo ting mo zo ha go nyam len ga jang di na de namdo de rangji mi ba rang zhou sen da namdo mi ba nyam len ga so le ang we de rang chon zhou ge re shang zhou zhou de
Mhm.
tini le si ta ta ring a ti be ja tin sa ma le ta de cha za chen bo la yu se jin do
Mhm.
tini in sa de ti ki ju le in sa tini le la pin do
嗯
我听你的是的，同样咱们切是讲起来是我但同样咱们切是那他就是，但要么同样的咱们切是，但你们俩才开始呢，你们俩跟哪里马修呢？同样的咱们切是个同样往什么修呢？或者咱们切一点是，头了牙台把些是头了牙台，他头的是头呢，啥呢？去给的哇，这牙讲的在头面上的说啥了哇？
嗯
我头了牙台把些讲起来是。同样咱们切当马有，是我的同样咱们切当马，真的这是咱这边啥了哇？这
Mhm.
种是。
So then it says, thus, when you keep looking directly at the nature of whatever thoughts arise, having no nature or no essence of their own, they are self-liberated. The same Tantra says, so this is referring to the same Tantra as above, the utterly non-abiding Tantra of Mahamudra. It is also called the incorporation of the five wisdoms into the path. So when one is able to experience the various thoughts that are based on the afflictive emotions of the five poisons without falling under their power, but recognizing their empty essence, then they are self-liberated upon arising and become the pure expression of the five Buddha families, just as poison becoming affected by mantra. So just like poison, if taken without, if you take poison, then it can kill you. But if somebody who has like powerful mastery over mantras can transform poison into medicine with mantras, and then it becomes medicine. So it says these are the fifth instructions for incorporating the five poisons onto the path.
这种是牛麦克咱那说销量蛮前边去，的呢，我中堂明白在这些去，主要是我的在那他下面牛麦行里，他在咱们这他那说下龙的意思，我在下龙的做我的他全把蛮把钱的，你们那天跟行了下的呢，可蛮把钱，这些大神他去蛮把钱过去了，这些店呢。 Then ngô zong mi ba se ngô sin do ya yo ma nam to so yo ma ra so chop de len dong ze den do ya yo ma wa sha
Mhm.
ten du te me du te ngô zong mi ba za je san te nam to kona kona me nu ba me ba chan do de es hi ke
Mhm.
za de hi ke kan do de es.
Mhm. So then it says, therefore, with undistracted mindfulness, if you look directly at at the appearance of the dynamic energies of the innate mind in their myriad forms, they collapse, baseless, rootless, without identification. So, when abiding with undistracted mindfulness within the recognition of the essence of awareness, there are all sorts of things that appear in the mind. But as we sustain undistracted attention without becoming distracted, there is nothing too substantial there to grasp onto or identify. And so when whatever appears is seen as this empty expression, as one abides in awareness, then they collapse, they become baseless, rootless. There's no identification there. It's all just energetic expression of the essence of awareness itself, and the thoughts can't do any harm.
真的简单是给康健牛嘛，你以前是我的康健那么多呢，我在开始见呢，我早是那牛没去咋的是，牛没什么牛没咋的，以前是康下的前边让啥子，康下真的前边去在心里呢，跟让啥下啥干呢是康下前边看看前些看看的，伢们起的呢啥干呢是，他下东半年听着的，那么多的开始咋子开始下了嘛，他从嘛的东半年听着是。我这东半年听着个是，那就是结果东，但那就是个结果中的。被签不拢的东铁松不嘛的是东没啥现在铁松嘛个，我听着用个的是。
Mhm. So here it says Avalokiteshvara has said, as anything that arises is the innate nature itself. So whatever it is that appears in the mind is not separate from the essence of the mind or the essence of awareness itself. If whatever appears is set on the ground of mindfulness, so whatever it is that appears is met with mindful awareness, with full attention, the very appearance itself becomes emptiness. That is the king of yoga, with no doubt. So this is what is referred to as the king of yogas, and one need not have any doubt about its efficacy.
他这款的我嘞，他要么能多看些吧，这点我大爷真的这个让见面听见见听着的是，老朱没是点别是类似单独这啥的，单独这个那这种啥吧，很多听了，老朱没是点别多些听了，然后真的要么办的大，多别钱的强求的，要么被我抗议吧，这强求，哎，这要么的但我通说呢，这强求不是，要么我的强求不是，要么可能我东把强着说的。对我通呢，东把强了，这强求不是的，这种是。
So then it's more of the same. It says, thus, as you keep looking directly at the nature of any afflictive emotion or thought that arises, that very thought manifests nakedly with no actual existence. Likewise, then it says in the sutra showing the inexhaustible wisdom, it is enlightenment as the nature of these afflictions is realized. So the essence, the empty essence, and the recognition of their empty essence itself is the awakened awareness, the enlightened mind. That which is the nature of afflictions is the nature of enlightenment. So as afflictive emotions are empty in essence, then they themselves are the nature of awakening, the nature of enlightenment.
我这呢，这种多生意用没在那刚没都吃了吧，见那说了，搞着没把肉娘吃，是我的见那说着没得用谁了吧？
Mhm.
我这搞过嘛的是，做过嘛的是，那娘那个就讲过的是。
Mhm.
我在听这种多生意用没
Mhm.
看到，在弄的是在听那刚没的，下边是见那说嘛，我见的没得用谁了
Mhm.
吧？
Mhm.
我这是从嘛的肉娘把他讲过，肉娘生的，但娘那个家里个的实体网跳就嘛的是。我往
Mhm.
跳上去，正说人家们出去嘛的，我的记得是。
Mhm. So then it says, thus, the primordial dynamic energy of the innate nature of mind arises unceasingly as a myriad of events, and they must be treated as being of one taste without rejecting or seeking after. So all sorts of different conditions, situations might occur. And so here, recognizing them all to be of one taste and the nature of empty expression, then there's no need to reject or to accept, to seek after or to avoid. All of the different possibilities that arise are just of one single nature. They're the nature of equal taste or the one taste. So if one sees them in this way, then one will not fall under their power, under their influence.
我在录入建筑区吧，这是重点的，咱都是咱都这种，这
Mhm,
种录入建筑区边都是真多天是
mhm,
吧？
mhm,
我真的重点的也是，就他们今年吧，你多嘛强求我是都在就他们今年你多送呢，年你前呢，他真是吧明白，200年多送左右是的，
mhm,
多送呢强求我是。重点的在台湾呢，强求那人为很多些没讲，我的台湾强求主要了，他人不有嘛的意思。他这当说说就了有的，他人不现在搞来讲水都不嘛的意思，这说
mhm,
说就了有的，你那他说说看。说呢，要不你们俩刚讲那他你我的，他看先把这怕啰嗦，那他人不，这脸图也没法弄的吧？
mhm,
那我听的，我这样人不强着的，这面再给他说说，我那些他人不没得事，说说了有的意思，说说就有的意思，我强
mhm,
说这他人不没着头，因为不穷人不行，过人都不穷人不行吧？
mhm,
我听到的上街主要他人我们都是用多红的，我对他人我们
mhm,
都说说他人我人都是，我
mhm,
他人我的，可是呢，说说现在你们来去，说，要不就从你们来去托从的上街头个罗吧，这他人我们哇，
mhm,
对对，做我的说但你们来去嘛，他们那这样的是个来好朋友们，你们来去他们那他人我们嘛，挺强的个罗。
mhm. So it says in the sutra requested by the Ocean of Wisdom, O transcendent victor, realizing all phenomena to be equal is enlightenment. O transcendent victor, therefore, the bodhisattvas do not consider themselves far from enlightenment. Oh, enlightenment, the reality is that enlightenment is not actually so far away because it is there as the true essence of your own awareness. It's in our continuum of being. It is, the possibility is always just right there. So if we practice, it's not far away. But if we don't practice, then it becomes far away. But the reality is that awakening is within, and it is ever present as a possibility. So for this reason, Pachung Rinpoche said, Buddhahood is not far. Um, so if we practice, Buddhahood is not far. If we know how to practice, if we know how to really look at the essence of our own awareness, then Buddhahood is not far off. But if we don't really know how to practice, then it becomes very far away.
真的现在真的叫那边的他的几块的，我就那边买别个了讲的，让这批一些让下呢，你自己出啊，让着存着，是吧？但你自己也出啊，提倡嘛，把它穿着个的，甚至原来有人不行了，因为他真正有人不行了，他在说，刚才说老车，在几万个嘛，总那要不早就不多头个的。
Mm,
제 제바 마다 제 디가 쓰는 표신 보자 하면은 대 대신 거르거라 대 제바
mhm,
대신 가서 가게 직차와 램치 담도
mhm,
어제 제방이면서 남 소사 사태 또 도야테 안쪽으로 제바 요사로
mhm. Um, And so then it says, thus, when you carry out the four activities in the dimension of non-distraction, primordial self-awareness appears spontaneously, and the confusion of dualistic grasping simply liberates. So the Lungchen Lo Yorwa.
늘어네
Oh, okay. So this. this capacity for self-liberation upon arising is when accessible, then, there really, it is not far. Realization is not far away. But it depends, whether it's far or near, it depends on the individual. So there are some who, for instance, have a great deal of merit from former lives, as practitioners from former lives. And then in that case, it can be development can happen really quickly. But for some, who lack merit or who don't have much merit supporting them from former lives, then it may take a lot longer. So there are all the different capacities of beings. There are those who are instantaneous realizers. There are those who progress more slowly in gradual stages. And it depends on what one comes into this life with in terms of supporting merit and experience in practice from former lives.
他这种的一些这肯定些呢是，让人一些的你的是让这个一些的你去搞把啥呗，搞别门别准备的是，他搞把门别准备那么把当时准备那些的是的，让这个一些的我些呢，累进出啊，这样的就是，这累进出啊，把这听我些从出啊，怎么把讲这个的是，基本你把起行了，是的，基本你把是那他，他那路多别同大块学啥的，起行了是。我的呢。那啥，他没写的，我是记得没写的基本你吧，
Mm.
我的起行龙是他没写他那路多把同大的回事什么嘞？
Mm.
我推荐啥的，他的电路被敲算看干嘛呢？有啊，
Mm.
干嘛打这边门板突破呀？准备这个给这些吧，就是我在干嘛上门板突破呢？准备这把呢？对，实验这个也是，对，干嘛上边门板突破呀？准备这个。你让先我先，但让先我先那路多少呢？这里干嘛啥的，对这突破怎么把它突破的是？我这路被
Mm.
交钱看看嘛，这种样的吧，我这
Mm.
大几块的现在些装备，这大
Mm.
些把起来种是。
So then in the Dakini of Primordial Wisdom, it says, this primordial self-awareness is like a lamp in the darkness of eons. It eliminates the karmic confusions forever, just like a mighty being. So this is referring to the power of this primordial awareness that is the true nature of mind. In a single instant of recognition, it can conquer eons of habits of delusion. So this is also stated in the Ganges Mahamudra when Tilopa says, just as a single lamp can illuminate all at once a cavern that has remained in darkness for eons, in the same way, a single moment of recognizing the clear light luminosity of awareness can clear away eons of accumulated negativity and defilement.
我先从是在那些把讲了，是讲是他在咱们那的军团，当然了做抗突突去呢，
Mm.
咱们那的讲过的是嘛，他这当当就抗啥好过嘛的，你那当第一是南上的那我是他们都听的，那他咱们那军团讲，真常
Mhm.
常说别讲的第是打，我的打那自己没做偏给了哇，我听
Mhm.
之前呢，他咱们那第是其实就经常把在空心的查，他咱们那些下来，这是你把切的着。这样呢，
Mhm.
也要空头做特别好的偏给了吧？
Mhm. So then it says, thus ascertain and maintain. So here the instruction is to reflect and to sustain, through practice, maintain the practice. Of course, we do what we can, and this is not an easy level. This is not so easy to achieve. Of course, everyone is different, so who really knows? But we do the best that we can. So sometimes we read the texts, we remind ourselves and we practice as we can here and there, little by little, and do our best to really make an effort at sustaining the practice, practicing to the best that we can.
哦，真的，那可能要做国家呢，这干嘛开始是要做国家的？他国家呀，这 kandu jazenda kazanti ishine ko mabula
Mhm.
chalanso
Mhm.
mixeja ko mya on the gomna dire
Mhm.
shiba jamando tene karma khayes nga so gom janis
Awesome. So we haven't meditated yet today. So now he's going to give us a few minutes to meditate. And the way that we can meditate is based on the instructions that we received yesterday, and whichever of those instructions
wa
suit us.
tene adola ra tene mabula so te kandu gom de ya ba kazanti
Or today, like between, so you can choose whatever method it feels best to you based on the instructions that you received today, based on the instructions you received on the different methods of shamatha yesterday. Then we can take a few moments to meditate.
기자 뭐 왔다 그래서 그래서 전에 다对，其实你把它弄完的话，弄完去我祝你有打算，
哦，
对你把
공다.
啊，
Drupon yang sumro nang 공다.
我在那里记者们都说这里就是可能说的对，那样真的，我等你把的弄完的话，弄完，但弄完的，那留你中国的，我常找吧是，但留你中国都你蛮难的，他几块的在里头，留出搞吧的，弄完现在在东亚的有吧，在弄完是个是吧？没东亚有吧，弄完那边摘呢，但弄完空着，那这出亚弄完，他说弄完是吧？我在弄完的，他别想了，但留搞完东西，但那是的，那像说这些个人民啊，小子。
So then the second section then here now is pointing out appearances themselves as Dharmakaya. So it says maintain the body posture, the key physical points as before, and the gaze as before, looking directly in front. And it says look directly at any apparent object in front of you and keep your mind relaxed and released, free from grasping. So taking any object, and this is when we speak of appearance, this is, all things that appear to the senses, so forms that are seen with the eye, sounds that are here, and so on and so forth. But here, so for instance, taking something like a pillar or some physical object that appears in front of you, then rest your gaze and your attention on that object, such as a pillar, relaxed and released, free from grasping.
我真的到了嘛了，我会动前线囊托头多米买吧，有人工别是在囊里托头，在买吧，他有人不
Mhm.
在这边没别囊，他光过去是吧？他有
Mhm.
人工别是。
So then, as you generate it says you generate heartfelt devotion to the guru and non-conceptually focus on the apparent object, meditate without distraction for a long time. So keep your attention sustained on distraction without grasping and resting with heartfelt devotion to the guru.
我当时你没看啊？那边这是那么起码绿色，那么咸，呃呃那什么牛没看？那边这是但什么牛没看啊？对吧？什么牛没看？那些那么起了嘛绿的，那么咸什么那没吧？那些也没通通就是，但那么的什么也没吧？等掐这个意思，说的话，那些也没下来，我的说。
Then, as it says, for your mind will abide in its innate nature, the primordial dimension. At this point, appearances in mind manifest vividly to be indivisible. And so at this point, then you sustain the attention on the object until you recognize its empty innate nature and appearances and mind are seen to be an indivisibility.
我真的两姐姐被咱们姐妹家被拒，现在有时候听到了，
Mhm,
什么两姐姐把秋裤过是什么的头秋裤是那叫在青坡山这些种的哇，秋
mhm,
裤是那晚两姐姐把秋裤我是那晚这里帮初说的秋裤是我弄的是，
mhm,
但我真的那些人民两姐，那晚的生意我头那我几块的是，可是呢，那些也有嘛的是，一万七多也有嘛的是，
mhm,
我这听出这些种的吧。
mhm. So then in the incomprehensible co-emergent tantra, it says the co-emergent nature of mind is the truth body or dharmakaya. The co-emergent appearances are the radiance of the Dharmakaya. This is the co-emergent indivisibility of mind and appearances. So the reality is that the essence of the mind itself is Dharmakaya, and all that appears and exists is also the essence of Dharmakaya. So they are co-emergent, mind and appearances. In this way, the essence is of one single nature, and they are understood to be indivisible.
这当中我当初这手去每手痛个吧，每手在痛，那在干么个什么？他的节目手忙不在痛呢？
Mhm, mhm,
是常年开些那也不留班中，但说说在年纪那么在做班中，都是也不痛个的，是
mhm,
开些那说说王站那么自己在嘛个，现在手提开的来开来，这来开开始那说说那玩意的。
mhm,
这咱是强的，对对。
mhm,
但这这这现在这开些年不都有嘞？这开些别，他才开些度假了，所图样没得干哎，他别没事空啊，才度假修是拉不上。
mhm,
他的这就去什么在当下节约了吧？我
mhm,
天天这个来这个的，天天他弄完的什么不？这这别家没这才度假节拉不上呢，所以是
mhm,
做你们俩在一起呢，这这才当所以说你们俩什么跟我问你也没你们俩在一起呢？这这才我那些这钞票嘛，东巴中的这过了。
mhm,
자 마롭 뒤에는 소소 큰 짐바틱 다 제대로 친구 효래
mhm,
나로 어때로백 나로 봐 흔나와에 mention 先边情 나와에 mention 先边情 나와에 칭 말했어 나와 치료자 통데 칭칭 말했어
mhm,
先边情 그랬어 先把他 소소 지도 효라
mhm,
先边先把真 짐바더라 往
mhm,
짐바데 나와에 mention 先边情 先把 초些나로 봐我的先把 주고是 나로 봐我这种的话，我这样对，但俺让说这把先把这咱们往头买小的些呢，这娘俩几个说的也是。
mhm, mhm. When things appear to the the forms that appear to the eye are what cause the mind to react with like and dislike. So there's so much attachment and aversion that is the reaction of just merely seeing empty forms. So we say, oh, this is good, this is bad, I like this, I don't like that. We have friends and loved ones. We see them, we feel happy. We see enemies or things we don't like, and we feel aversion. We feel um, negative. And then same with sounds. So there are some, really pleasant sounds, nice things that we like to hear, and then some things we really don't like to hear. So if somebody says something really negative about us, then we become really distraught. But if we take that negative thing that was said and we meditate on it, we look at the essence of those negative words, and we see that there is nothing in themselves which are like, of a qualitatively negative nature. They're just empty sounds. It's only the grasping that causes the aversion, the reaction of aversion. So it's just like Tilopa says when he says to Naropa, my child, it is not appearances that bind, it is the grasping to appearances that bind you. So Naropa cut through the grasping or cut through this fixation, the mind of fixation. And so when there's no grasping, then appearances are just empty appearances of whatever nature or quality that they hold. And so we have to practice in such a way that we diminish our grasping, and we don't, and without grasping, then we don't fall under the power of appearances. And so this is how we should practice.
哇，等那个做活别解有的，
Mhm.
谁了中间米的，谁了中间有嘛的，谁中间有嘛的吧？
Mhm.
真的我们有嘛了，真的我们当中有
Mhm.
嘛了谁
Mhm.
了？
Mhm.
谁了中间米的，每年囤了多少谁了？每
Mhm.
年都囤多少个的时候，
Mhm. Mhm.
我他别的，但俺做这，等我那些菜的基本看到小嘛，他让人几百的，我俺菜都价就拿不
Mhm.
上。 something zita nga zo ti mambo yo ting zang
Mhm.
je tang je zo ko ro tang ro wa je tang ko
Mhm.
ten mambo yo ta ko nga tsai du bia zai la song something zi ne
Mhm.
de ni tung
Mhm.
to ro ke ma zai zai ko rang
Mhm.
zong xia yo ma
Mhm.
wa xia de
Mhm.
wo de so zong zi ba de ke de xin ro dan zi ba de nyam ne gang zo ja do de zai qi ji na de ne de me ni tung to ro ma nyam ne gang ko do xi ko rang cho bi yo ma ba de
Wait, Yangsha, Kongta, Jakarta?
de nyam ne
Yeah.
gang zo zai ja ji na zi
Mhm.
nyamne gang so jana tene tumu tor tu mareze
Mm.
persona tumu dorchi koran chob
Mm.
derece yo marwa
Mhm.
ni
Mhm.
tumu tor tu mara te dorchi
Mhm.
chob de yo
Mhm.
mare
Mhm.
ina ta ngazon zimba tik de nu chano hore chote indu
Mhm. Mhm.
tene nyamne gang so ja tenju chine koran ta se du ze yo na se du kyan das ko na te koran mo chob yo ma te indu tene
Mhm.
zu ta mare nyamne gang so jana ten
Mhm.
temezi nyamne te yar kompen ro tobne jema khare khare 안 책임라 된루데 누가 총나 저소라데 냠내가 자르토비알 케체 제진 냠내야 공pen도야 pen기레도 속에
Mhm. So there's a Tibetan saying that is, words are not weapons, but they can destroy somebody's heart. So that words are empty. They aren't weapons. They can't really do anything to harm you. And yet it is the grasping mind. When the mind grasps at those hurtful words, then our own grasping destroys our own heart. So this is very common, these days. People really hang on to, oh, he said something really bad about me. And we can't let it go, and we cause it to really make us we can have a lot of suffering or inflict a lot of suffering on ourselves because of our grasping to empty words. If we take those negative words and we practice with them, we apply them at our practice, then they can't destroy our heart. They can't harm us. But it is the if there's grasping, then we won't be able to really practice with them. So we have to actually, if we really know how to practice, and no matter, like, taking whatever the most terrible thing someone might say to us or about us, and we see the empty essence, and we really are able to practice with it, then actually really negative speech to us or about us can actually become a really fantastic fuel for the practice. It can really cause your practice to progress, to improve exponentially. Uh-huh.
de ta tenru danere ma he zong se te semni rangdang gangmi te rangdang yi so semni gang pa yo mare te gangmi te na ma te rangdang re na ma rangdang lo ye chu na si ste lo be zong ra na ma rangdang lo ye chu na si te na ma rangdang re te nyam na chi lo chu te pa si lo be res
Mm. Shigu.
a
Danga shigu me pa chwa song sang ma. So sad. Okay. Tene tilopaki.
na ma rangdang lo ye chu na si se la shu ra te cha chen kang ga ma na 我听对，那我这让那的是，那我让那你对的，老一出事，现在老肯这边出的，他谁都个的是，那我让那你吧，他了
Mhm.
让我买些别是，云南电班这边西班出啊，出那他说的，那我让那你吧，这我买些过去，这买些对的让我，买些呢的有开的那我开的，像那什么电班子，这出都个的是，
Mhm.
出吧吃完，那出吧下龙的，吃到么
Mhm.
什么下龙的。
Mhm. Mm. And so then it says, thus appearances are just the unceasing self-radiance of the nature of mind, not recognizing itself, but grasping at appearances as real. Mind occurs as erroneous appearances. Appearances are co-emergent appearances. They're self-appearing manifestations of empty awareness. And so as it says in the Ganges Mahamudra, when appearances are realized as self-appearing, then the phenomena of the mind becomes exhausted. So it is the lo yi chu ze.
就谁都个嘞，是这边去都就那么让那
Mhm,
都就那么谁是，
mhm.
这边
So
就那
so
这边谁都个嘞，是那么
as
让那一个
dualistic.
我先说呢，
Mhm. So, in recognizing the empty nature of all appearances, all phenomena, then in that recognition, as that recognition is sustained, then gradually the all of the phenomena of subject-object dualistic fixation becomes exhausted. If we don't recognize the true nature of appearances, then we take outer appearances to be real, to be truly existent. There's grasping, and we are always in an experience of reactivity to all of the phenomena that appears to us, because we think that it truly exists from its own side. We apprehend it as real, and then we remain stuck in the delusion of ongoing attachment and aversion, the ongoing and endless expressions of attachment and aversion.
你嘛，今天中国老嘛就有啥的吧？老嘛就有啥的，老嘛开
Mhm,
始但也抗争不起去，但是光讲的忙不有的话，这对，
mhm,
都抗争，对抗看，电视开始电视那么多，莫给他想那这那么多，你就说，
mhm,
我的莫给他想那这那么多，这你
mhm,
就说。
mhm, mhm. So kung gangri la nyaman
那
che
我们
jure.
讲，你有多那空间呢？
Mhm,
他就忙不有啥的，有的
mhm,
话，
mhm, mhm,
我听到这老开些光讲的，这老嘛开些几天钟结合马用啥的这个呢？
mhm, mhm,
但这个来，这几天钟不他经常说你们来看瑞穷老开些光讲不的这，他给讲只有啥的
mhm,
吧？
mhm,
我听到没这有啥，他听讲就也不是光托送，就
mhm,
去多把他也不接送这，这几天
mhm,
钟需要啥的？
mhm,
几天钟哦，他也不是谁呢？就让那个都讲忙不起的生意，可送是。
mhm,
晓得样要不是他妈的是他啥了？啊，可重呀！
Ako-song.
我真的可别控制啥的，这手拉不上是，
Mhm,
手拉是的，我不拉啥了？晓得，
mhm,
这有过的是俺们现在请这些米子拉啥了？手
mhm,
拉不那晓得，今天从俺老年间们都是的，这就
mhm,
老年间们都是，经常就旅游不解释呗，俺家人都是，我这个面子拉意思，这
mhm,
个我做的恰啥了？
mhm,
啊，
mhm, Ako-song.
嗯，
Mhm. Lord Jigten Sungden had a disciple. He had many disciples who actually were meditating in the at the holy mountain of Mount Kailash. They were in retreat there for many years. And a group of those practitioners who were practicing at Mount Kailash traveled to Drikung to meet with Lord Jigten Sumgun. And when they came and they arrived and they met with Jigten Sumgun, and Jigten Sumgun inquired about their practice. He asked them, how's your practice going? Tell me about your experience. And of those practitioners, there was one guy who said he had really great results with illusory body, that he had realization that had arisen, in the practice of illusory body. And Jigten Sumgun said, "That's really wonderful. That's great." And he said, "But I've heard that you've been doing some really bad things. I've heard rumors that you are doing, that you're also, you're doing you're engaged in some really bad conduct." And the guy became enraged and was like, "Who said that? What did you hear? Tell me who said that. That's absolutely not correct. I need to know who said that." And so then Lord Chikchen Sumgun said, "No, actually, nobody said anything, but you had the pride you have the pride to say that you have realization in the illusory body, so that's why I say that so now we can really see where you're at with illusory body."
反正这跟我做恰啥了？
And then he
但是
became he
这
became really he
这
was
的就论讲那这一层嘛，他就慢慢那么的买过牙都
mhm,
有嘛，是吧？
mhm,
这
mhm.
嗯，
uh and
就旅游
so
不
he
你们俩去
became
讨论那
yeah,
这一层，
hakosung. So he said, so then he became really, he was humbled, and he became very embarrassed, because of course, if he really had attained realization, if he really was practicing illusory body, somebody who practices illusory body and has attainment can really experience all words to be empty, like illusory and dreamlike.
the cheat and Tethers and nothing in me to Hong Yong, so what the Yamlan was in and nothing in me alone to younger
Mhm.
is now sent the year minute.
Mm. Um, Thus, in the state where appearances and mind are indivisible, there's a sense of being released.
Then not so Yoban Jane, the Jake to someone, my ins, or Dangima Yamlan Majidu, now the same Nibu Kaka Yoba. Tata
Mhm.
Yamlan Chiduka Chason, it is and
Mhm.
Maris. Going to the native is. In
Mhm.
it, and they
Mhm.
by it is.
Mhm. So it says, it is not that previously there were discrete things and now they're merged and have become one. They have existed primordially in this mode. But actually, I think what he's saying is it's not as though the way things appear is that they appear differently. So it's not like before this realization, there's the experience of appearances being separate and mind being separate, but things appear just as they did before, but this indivisibility, this equality of nature essence is understood.
Tenen jido le singa lin troba tamchin jong nga le ne son po yang jong singa yin de kum cha ba ro be rang ji xian ma dong sta tenen nga le lian ji ji ba ro lian ji sim ji lian ji ji ba nga le tan troba tamchi nga le den jong kres nga
Mm,
den ne zom se na da ne zom sa wo sa ting sa la si da ji da sa wo sen lun dong da sa ting sen men dong tan ding dong nam ka dong ro la dong de yang de zom la gra ne zom se na
mhm,
la de maison tong da gra no ne zum sena wa da so sama de ngal jong se ta ngal jong
mhm,
nga yin de ku cha ba de nga yi kitan kun de de ku cha de le es da cha
mhm,
ba de do ye na yi da de te ma to shen ba ze li da an do wa sin tong shi ma da wo san de de
mhm,
le cha ne ji ji ban de ma to shen tong shi ma da wo sim ye ne ji ji ban de chong de ma to shen ban tong shi ma da wo
mhm. So in the Hivadra Tantra, it says, "From me arise all migratory beings, or all beings, all sentient beings. From me arise also the three abodes." So the three abodes here, perhaps referring to Nagas beneath the earth, and human beings upon, and other living creatures above, upon the earth, and celestial beings above the earth or in the sky. From me, everything is pervaded by me, so I pervade the nature of all things. Other than that, no nature of beings, migratory beings, can be seen.
等到他写从生产阶级被克让当在七罗呢，我不超把队长样，每次他七罗来，我那现在我不超不着，得了队长是嘛，咱说办几把钱，但没大小那种，但我说开始先呢，但那我超不了嘛，真的也买些巧克力，俺那做他妈超不得那些有了哇。
Hmm. Hmm.
但人呢，他在说在内陆些多，你们要不现在那玩意儿买了多有啥了哇？他妈
Hmm.
做这，他俺做这。te chua mendo zi lu za zi ngo bo be chang kang ba ina re kari na tsang ma sa xin chek ba da chua
Hmm.
de yo le na wa yo ro wa
Hmm.
chua de le na wa yo re la ne da chua mendo zi yi me chi chen le yong ge ro te ni na ton da tan be ngo de chua be yo ma re s ngo bo chua ba du zang mi s zong do mi te s
Hmm. So then, as it says, thus, apart from the self appearances of the co-emergence, there is no true existence, even as tiny as an atom. So there's no true existence. Nothing that appears has any inherent existence or true nature, truly existence. It is not, has not even an atom's worth of truly existent nature from its own side. But on the other hand, if we say, oh, nothing really exists, it's impossible to hear this and just believe it, because our experience is that of like concrete reality, that things really do exist. But through practice, one comes to have a glimpse of this essence, this empty essence that pervades all phenomena. that things aren't actually so solid and concrete and intrinsically real as we take them to be. That in reality they lack, all things lack substantial nature, and this is the reality from the perspective of the ultimate truth. Not even so much as an atom's worth of true existence can be found.
tene ngema de jiji mala reba da yora jiji mala reba te
Hmm.
re chung se lo mo de yora ko na lo ma re chung suk se re
Hmm.
chung dur je cha pa tene re chung dur je cha pa de jiji mala re pe cha sen ten je jo chi ja sa ba
Hmm.
de re chung gom ze ja on du nyam nyong ya bo de se tong nyam de ya bo sha ra sa re
Hmm.
se tong nyam ya bo sha ze chung de de re chung ga ja de si ya sa re
嗯
哦，他并不是伢侬要不接送，那么没来
嗯
得怕啦，你伢侬接要米康闲的啥么啥的，
嗯
小天龙的啥么的呢？他这个广大的我们家是的，小北呀没拉呢的呢，没来得别咋子送完啥吧？
嗯
没来得别咋送对的呢？没来得别哦，他经常在伢侬的这些多，他也想么下送噻。
嗯
嗯，伊呢，他经常在那么没来得怕了，伢托那些有我们怎么样的，经常被俺家的意思。
嗯
샤트 지금은 말송 샤사리 공도 살바
嗯
레종야 휴마고들이 지금은 차트도 바 토과멜 반주인도 토과멜 주
嗯
데 레종 주지 되는 주의도 휴마도
嗯
테네 남가 나나지 동야도 레종 지금은
嗯
데 레종 동야요 말하는 남가 배
嗯
동반하면
嗯
텐주데 나와다 라지 마죠 와다
嗯
통다ተ 된 쇼사로다
嗯 So there's a story of when Jetsun Milarepa, his disciple Rinpoche, Dorje Tragwa, had received instruction from Milarepa on the co-emergent unification of Mahamudra, and he was meditating and had some experience of the indivisibility of clarity and emptiness. And then this experience caused him to become kind of prideful, and he had the thought, wow, that's extraordinary. I've really, he understood that he had really realized something, and he thought, I wonder if Milarepa has this understanding. Maybe even Milarepa hasn't seen this. And so then he got up early in the morning and he went to see Milarepa, and Milarepa said to him, "Oh, I saw that you had some good experience arise in your meditation, but then you became prideful and you wondered if even your Lama, Milarepa, had this level of experience arise in his mind." And he said, and that is really arrogant. And then he displayed all of these miraculous feats, Milarepa. So he moved through the walls of the cave. He moved through and then came back, and then Rachungba tried to do the same thing, and he couldn't. He couldn't move through the walls of the cave. And then Milarepa played the space like a drum. He was able to make sound on space as though it were a drum. And Rachungba was unable to produce a drum-like sound from banging on space. And so what Milarepa was showing to Rinpoche in that moment was the empty nature of all phenomena.
我个现在么送多啊，等个人不去，那么几米多这些就有送多啊。
Mhm, mhm,
等你嘛中康长小队的，中康长小队的，中康中队，红恐怕都杀多了吧？来就杀多了，等等的，七老同啥嘛了，装备送的，啥么？但那批长毛了，七老年满的都学的送多啊。
mhm,
七老年满的学的，对的，七老同下的讲这块怕同着学习上面，同啥有嘛了吧？
mhm. So also so Chime Dorje Yang Tsongkang de Garchen
哦，
Rinpoche Nyamde Tsongkang La Yorua. Rebe.
年多人啥嘛的，中国新办啥？
Oh.
嗯。
Dene Kare Shimba Tong Yorube Kande.
没先别同学啥了，总把这个，那总把中年的忙活有了吧？他，
Hmm. Hmm. So Garchen Miller or Garchen Rinpoche, so his Lama Chime Dorje When he was in prison, the other prisoners would say that, of course, in prison, there's no way to leave prison, and it was very cold. And then sometimes outside the sun would be shining, and there was no way to get out from prison. But sometimes the other prisoners would look outside and see Lama Chumi Dorje sitting in the sun. Um, and of course, apart from just moving through the walls of the prison cell, there was no way he could have gotten outside.
드네 다 상만 뒤발레스 담본데나 마치 바스 담본데나 다 제요 말레스
Mhm,
돈의 주니 미바데스 다 도마네 주니 네 미바레스 남가다 다미스 남가다 다 초브데 요 말레스 다 지야제요
mhm.
대 창조업 수준데 대고 다 창조업 수준데 대고 시바고스
So then in the Guhya Samaja Tantra, it says, as these are unborn in the first place, suchness is primordially void, devoid of any self like sky or like the like space. This is the way, this is the way enlightenment is shown.
드네 다 시종은 도리 소칸의 마중 칸도 양만조스 소 가량 네바 메토스 소 칸의 소요 마 칸도 조요 칸 네도 야요 말해 정도
So then it says in the sutras, forms come from nowhere and they go nowhere and abide nowhere.
等下做其他人不能有手动把握动把你手说
Mhm,
手里动把你先嘛动把你的手先嘛一弄写完它真正是科
mhm.
学才动你起就是写那么多
And so this is the same as what we find in the Heart Sutra when it says form is emptiness, emptiness is form, form is no other than emptiness, and emptiness is no other than form.
真的浪漫，那说是那对也能那通也没见个那什么当这边，他当这边，牛没让那意思，我他就牛没去，什么牛嘛的让那的是，应该
Mhm.
是。
And so, therefore, it says, when a myriad of forms of appearances manifest, they are the appearances of the innate nature itself, the primordial indivisibility of appearance and emptiness, which is free from the, yeah. Mhm.
真的，他让他们的就的是让他们
Oh,
那边。
which is free from the extremes of arising, ceasing, and abiding. And then it says, and the perfectly non-abiding Tantra.
这个让他们那边就的是哪些敲在前部是哪些他们就敲在前部的，你们我呢？对吧？在跟着上部的呢，那三级吧，但是他妈三级上去的是，这三级对吧？的那种网球打吧，那种网球的打过来送是的。
So it says, appearances and existence are Mahamudra, the great bliss and the holy perfect. This is the mandala of mind, which is the Lord, which the Lord of yogis should behold. Mm.
真的现从是哪吒去，就他们去长松人民，没那么就嘛的，这是他这种多，那长松哪吒就他们去，南通人民没那么就嘛的，他没那么就就没通了有嘛，是没那么就没通了有嘛，我差不多说，没
Mhm,
那么在，他没那么，但我说没那么抽的，没那么在抽的，我那手从嘛差不多那一。
mhm,
我说没那么难，带头忙不着用的话，上不上别搞了
mhm,
有嘞，是
mhm,
别人真把钱包有嘞，没那么难了。
mhm, mhm,
让你试一试对提加了，在这没让快没用，我那英语上班了，这就肯定把用的话，
mhm, mhm,
我这人对提囊，他带头忙不在用，在那一里的，
mhm,
我我说他马来边那卡了，但可能的厂嘛带头用下是没那么难一起，但那路做多少那但可能一嘛着吧，多那个啥吧，
mhm, mhm,
我这这这啥的，他们这个的。他们那么他们差不多有嘛，那说成出去没？
mhm, mhm. So it says, thus all visible and audible phenomena are the indivisibility of appearance and emptiness, just like dreams and illusions. We really can come to understand that all that appears and exists, the entirety of our experience is illusory. It's just like a dream. When we have these really kind of real like experiences and dreams, but dreams and illusions don't really exist. They're illusory, they're false. And sometimes when we dream, there's all sorts of things that happen, good things, bad things, and we can get really have a lot of grasping in our dream. We could think that the dream is real. And then when we wake up, we realize, oh, that was just a dream. But we had such a strong reaction. We had such strong grasping at the time that it was happening. And so all phenomena is really just like that. When ignorance is present, we take the dream to be real. We think that it really exists. But when we discover the true nature, when we realize the true nature of awareness, then it's like waking up from a dream. We realize it was all illusory.
Tene shabare bes nanda chona manam jima da jipan re sa manam jim make ju tans make ju davis sunya tang zong ngopon sema mis jima na ke semla kanda dis ta tang usumi ba xie me joros kanga la so chunong na so ji na so ba fa sa jian ji jian so ro ji da da pe sen ta sim jung na so ji chu ji ren na ro ji da ba la xia si zong duo 我在马南的吉马呢，吉马的最多年的吉马在最小的春着学啥了哇？
Mm-hmm.
没什么春着呀，没俺的在
Mm-hmm.
家了啥了，没什么的，在这边的手忙我抄点同学啥了哇？
Mm-hmm.
你们俺做培育，俺们这里有的没跟过他，给钱了，不过都给钱年牙膏了有啊？
Mm-hmm.
下次你们没这个那是你二十多岁有的工作，
Mm-hmm.
你们的。这没在这就嘛么不，民主用电小啥了没出版了，
Mm-hmm.
但就嘛，这没常见呢，但个广大的这了民主电脑器这说这个啥了噻，过
Mm-hmm.
得人多啥的，
Mm-hmm.
广大的对这呢，但没常嘛，没常嘛地图的，但咱送的只有啥，但没那种做不了哇，
Mm-hmm.
做不了就说这说来看么不有了哇，得来看来，这里广大说哪样中国了哇。
Mm-hmm.
我真针对的呢，他这里把嘛，他这里看板的有什么了，把有了。
Mm-hmm.
我得把这个话题压是吧？得把了，
Mm-hmm.
他就跑的是，这晓得，这他常忙做我们送这拉啥的，
Mm-hmm.
这常忙做我们送这在那的，这呢这个个他民出这种点啥了，就嘛的这点红对这工作他干有了哇，他干
Mm-hmm.
没把啥他干，那
Mm-hmm.
个了，我了啥都说起来，被进步有的，我这个是大脑引起就是我看的啥怕拿起怕起错起。
Mm-hmm.
等吃多呀，有嘛了，等到他不搞有了哈，
Mm-hmm.
这大吃送的呢，大吃呀有了说，好个月，
Ah, tesako tonge ho kongda. So dampo denda de me kainsana mitsang de yoreve yangna sacha shimbala dro songe dola yoreve.
可是这给讲的，没长嘛，但做我们但实际可能就给想嘛了，没长嘛，但拿来
Lasso.
红也是拿松是拿松
Lev
的，
songe. Tene kongso lev song, lap songe.
哦，这拿松是拿松，
Okay, lasso.
这个民主这他就嘛的嘛，等下我说是吧？
Mm-hmm.
等我说的这他不搞有了哇，他不搞。
Mm-hmm.
他不干没当啥，进步级，
Rere. Mm-hmm.
多数晓得蛮这个家了嘛，他就马瓦这里，
Mm-hmm.
多数晓得，等于就，这估计这个他管家们看的上这着是吧？
Mm.
这现在好贵喂，
Hakumasong.
这大他说这了，我说大他管
So
家，
ta tigure, tapa jane tigure.
他管吃东西挺难易，
Mm-hmm.
大吃
Mm-hmm.
个难易，他管他看
Ah,
的是难
uh-huh.
吃，把吃做吃东西，
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
这他管的不用着说啥了，他没用，等
Mm-hmm.
我那心里有嘛了，等吃多呀，多
Mm-hmm.
了话的，不中。
Mm-hmm. Hakusong.
我在听着起，但没从嘛行的上，别没谁这个上的，他听着抢我啥了哇？
Mm-hmm.
这里不介提供生产厂或什么，所听着厂什么弄着我，但弄着我有了吧？
Mm-hmm.
他马厂都过在街里要生产都单位带些了，要送这里过街拉说是拿来跑什么了吧？对
Mm-hmm.
对，这拿嘛来都过在把所的，我最的把电毛的都啥了过？
Mm-hmm.
晓得没得的，我那些家家吃的你们东西，可能还怕有说了有没个，当俺着特
Vale.
别有嘛了，
Lasso.
就
Lasso.
没先把穿着咱们那点小了，晓得。
Kimsa.
可能哈姆怕的有说了有的都是，我真的
Vale.
我那种穿着小啥哈，
Lasso. Um, so then Shavaripa has said, like illusions, mirages, and reflections, all phenomena of appearance and sound are things devoid of characteristics. What appears as illusion is a space like mind itself, without center or boundary, and can be known by none. The various rivers, such as the Ganga and so forth, have the same taste upon merging with the salty ocean. Likewise, it must be realized that the various imputations, such as mind and secondary mind, have the same taste in the expansive phenomena. So it's really as if we have had spells, mantras chanted into our eyes so that we're kind of hallucinating all this phenomena. It really is like illusory and dreamlike in that way. So there's a story when Drupon Rinpoche was a kid. He really liked to hear sort of the stories of the older, folks in the village. And he had one uncle who was full of stories. He loved to hear his stories. And so this uncle told this story about this magician who would do incantations, and chant mantras like into people's eyes, there would be all of this crazy illusory phenomena that they would see. So one time, because they were nomads, so of course during the day the nomads are out, doing their various nomad activities with the different, animals and such, and then they come in to the tent, in the evening. And so the guy said, he said, "Is everybody there? Is everyone here? In the tent? Is everybody come home? From their work, like out in the mountains?" And so he said, somebody responded, "Yes, everybody's here." So then he started doing this kind of thing where he was able to pull this. So there's a stove that is immovable, right? The stove in the tent that is like made of rocks and earth, and it's a solid structure that can't be moved. But he took a rope and was like yanking the stove, to and fro inside the tent, just as if it were like a horse, on a rope, like, pulling it this way and pulling it that way. And everyone was just astounded. And there was this kid in the family who was still out. He hadn't come home with the rest of the family because he was still out with the animals. And he came back to the tent late. And he was, stuck his head underneath the tent to sort of see underneath the tent to watch what was going on. And what he saw was this guy pulling his shoes back and forth on a rope, sort of like yanking these shoes across, around the room. Whereas what all of the other people were seeing because of this spell was this really crazy phenomena of him yanking the stove here to and fro inside the tent. And so it's like that. It's really just this illusory phenomena that appears to us that we take to be intrinsically real. And it's no different from having been, received, had a spell cast on us to see all sorts of illusions. So now our time is up and we can conclude for lunch.